Okay, welcome to week 4. For you guys, that means that we are halfway there, which is kind of crazy. So just to catch up with you guys, week 4 is really focused on thinking and reading critically. Reading critically, of course, is key when it comes to research because you have to be able to read your piece of literature or your scholarly source and start to think critically about what's going on in that piece, and then of course you ultimately want to be able to add yourself to that conversation. So for this week, you're going to be reading a few pieces in your textbook on reading and thinking critically, all of which are relatively short reads. I think one is 4 pages, the others are just a couple pages, so not too bad. There is a reading quiz involved in that, and the other thing that you'll be doing for me this week is completing the reading assignment. So you've done the citation assignment, so I know that you are familiar with what the assignment sheets kind of look like. In this particular case, for this assignment, I've actually given you a text, and I want you to read through that text and wrestle with that text and determine what the text is saying, what's going on in that text, and there are certain things that I want you to look for. I want you to annotate that in a way. I don't want you to go very intense into your review, but I do want to see that you are able to read critically and that you can evaluate what a source is saying and whether or not that source is a valid source. So it's a pretty quick assignment, but I do want you to take time, and I want you to be in depth with your responses. I don't want you to take it very seriously because it's very important that we can read and think critically about what we're doing and what we're interpreting for our own research. So that's pretty important. And the last thing that you'll do for me this week is that you will review the guidelines and the rubric for the next major written assignment, which is your debunking stereotypes assignment. This is one of my favorite assignments that we'll do this semester. What I'm ultimately asking you to do is to identify one stereotype in our society, and this shouldn't be difficult to do. Unfortunately, we live in a society that is saturated in stereotypes, so I want you to think about these stereotypes that you may run into, maybe you've seen in your family or your friend circle. Any stereotypes that's out there. I can tell you last semester I had some really great ones. I had some students writing about stereotypes of men being breadwinners versus women being caregivers. I had some people writing about how the arts and the humanities had been stereotyped as the field where you become a starving artist or you make very little money. So I had students that really tackled that stereotype. So the purpose of this assignment is to identify a stereotype and then to push against that stereotype. So I'm going to want you to search for research or scholarly information out there that actually disproves that stereotype. That's kind of the main idea. So we're going to be thinking critically and evaluating what stereotype is currently out there, and I want you to think back to, obviously I don't want you to try to trace the origin of a stereotype because that's impossible, but I do want you to think back to timelines and when the stereotype became very relevant in our society, and maybe it's still relevant today. I would encourage you to approach stereotypes that are very relevant today. It shouldn't be difficult to do because, as I mentioned, we are, unfortunately, stereotypes are just an everyday thing. So think about any stereotypes that you may be guilty of adhering to, or any stereotypes that you may have in the past noted or have been the victim of, or maybe that you have poked fun at, or whatever. Just any stereotype that you've run into in your experiences in the past, and then work against those and start to push against what's happening currently in our society and disproving that very stereotype. So if you have any questions, please get back to me. The other thing that you'll do this semester, or this week, of course, is to respond to the discussion board from last week. So be thinking about that, and of course, make sure that your posts are thoughtful and insightful, and that you are engaging in the conversation in a manner that's appropriate for our class. And if you have any questions or any concerns, please feel free to let me know. Okay? Happy week 4.